to call to order the Wilmette Park District Committee of the Whole meeting for July 27th, 2026 at 6:31. Could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Duffy, present. Commissioner Clark,
Here.
Commissioner Murda, sorry, I'm skipping. Commissioner Adrian Oakley,
Here.
Commissioner Leahy. Here. Commissioner Gold.
Here.
We have a
Thank you. Right. Our first item on the agenda is communications and correspondence. Anything to add beyond what's in the packet? Okay, great. Then our next item is public comment and recognition of visitors. If you plan to address the board tonight, we ask that you please come up to the front of the room, sort of between the end of the two tables. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. We will notify you when you have 1 minute remaining, 30 seconds remaining when you are out of time by holding up a sign or giving a verbal cue. Everything said during the meeting is recorded with our device here. And please note that the full policy is printed on the packet. We are a community of neighbors. Please share your comments with us and we look forward to the discussion. Due to time constraints, we do not address during your comment any responses, but we will during the course of the meeting make all efforts to answer any questions raised during public comment. If there's anything you ask that is not addressed, please email Chris, our executive director. And with that, I see one name on the public comment. We can certainly have others too, but I want to ask the Lichter family to share. Hi.
No pressure.
I'm Alexandra Lichter and Malcolm Lichter, and just we as a lot of people do, we really love the Centennial Pool facility, and thank you. It's a wonderful facility.
Yeah, very smartly designed by
And
the
of
village.
course, people always come here when there's a complaint or something, and we do really love the facility. So thank you. Of course, at the group of swimmers, we were informed about the early closing. There was some emails and dialogue. It's closing Labor Day. It's typically open, through September. And just didn't know if there was any, creative ways to think about changing like the order of operations with the construction. Sounds like the contractors kind of have this date that they need to do it. For example, could they hold off on one part and do something else first? And I don't know the details, but just is there any creative way, maybe not to get to October, but to even squeeze out another week or two for this season? And so that's kind of one part. Patrick, you laid out they're kind of separate problems this year and future years. And then for future years, could there be more aspirational thinking about keeping it open longer? I know, it is an outdoor 50-meter pool. I know like Midtown Bannockburn's open in the winter, but that's a 25-yard, so I know it's a little different. But could there be ways to keep that? What would it take to keep it open more months of the year? Just because it's such a treasured and enjoyed facility.
By
if it's-
good swimmers and so swimmers.
Right. All levels of
It's like a
swimmers.
social thing and it's good for your mind and your body.
Yep, it's everyone's comments about community as well. But I think swimmers would pay extra for more time.
Yeah, just
There's got to be some price where it could be.
charge an extra fee if you want to swim that day. I think, and those that want it would pay and those that don't would walk away. Tell them it's another $20 if you want to come and use the pool.
Yep, but just to summarize, for this year, just disappointed about the early closing, wondering if we could problem solve to get another week or 2 or 3, and then moving forward,
Next year.
having a longer swim season, what would it take? And people are willing to pay money for this too.
I would.
Yeah, those are kind of the 2 points, and I know we can't answer that now, but and I think we're speaking on behalf of a lot of
Yeah, it's a poor turnout. I don't think
It's not, it's fine. We understand.
Yeah.
We hear a lot. We've heard a lot.
And I was wondering, my son Sharon's been vocal in writing. Yeah.
My brother.
Yeah. And he sort of, for work, he kind of works with companies to get the best deal. And I thought I turned it off. And he was wondering, did you just ask for contracts or did you put in we don't want, we want the construction not to start till after October, such and such a date. The contractor shouldn't be telling you should be telling the contractor. So he's wondering if when the contractors were being chosen, if it was presented, just whatever you wanted to do, we just want the cheapest? Or did you set some kind of constraint that you should not, we don't want work to start until towards the end of October?
There are multiple scenarios, like here's what it would look like with
Like the mid-October?
mid-September start, here's what it would look, and here's how that affects the
Yeah.
pricing and the timeline and the risk.
Don't let the contractor tell you, you're hiring, and Sheridan could help you with that.
Sharon
Well,
should
thank
speak
you.
with Chris, yeah. We'll
Thank
put
you
them
so
together.
much. We really appreciate your comments and
Yeah.
the ease at which you tag team and share
Oh.
the discussion.
No,
Thank
and,
you.
I'll just say that, like, if people like it enough, they'll pay the money for it. And if they don't like it, and, then they won't, like, if you say, well, we can keep it open longer in September, but because the work will be more, we're gonna charge you $20 a day to swim. So the ones that really like it will pay, and those will walk away. Like I would pay, and
Thank
she would pay,
Thank you so
and
much.
she would pay, and Sharon would pay. So, people can, do they really mean it or not? So anyway.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you for coming.
cool.
Yeah.
It's really lovely and well designed and smart. I used to live in Skokie, and they have slides and all sorts of stuff that,
It is a
People don't
swimmer's
use-
pool.
and like
Yes.
at Lifetime, they have that zero depth pool. And the only people using it where it's really shallow are like little kids, it's not designed for swimming. And that it's a leisure pool. It's too warm too. So anyway, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know that this may be addressed during your remarks, Chris, and if not, I know we have means to share with the community the approach. Thank you. Are there any other speakers who'd like to process today? Even if you did not fill out the public comment, this is an opportunity to
Can I
speak.
just make one, I'll make one comment.
Please come forward.
I would also like, we talked about it a little bit about putting a roof over or making a pool that could be used all year round. I mean, we know those exist, and I don't know how expensive that would be, but I know they've looked into it, but what are the issues with that?
Thank you. Thank you.
I did one other comment. Just because the contractor said you need something, do you really I go to the mechanic, he tells me my car needs $3,000 worth of work. I mean, I don't know, does it really? And my son Sheridan, he went to Toyota and they told him his car needed $3,000 worth of work, and he checked it with AI and it needed nothing. So just because the contractor tells you need
Thank you so
something,
much.
do you really
Mrs.
need it?
Linder. Yes.
Yeah.
We can have
We can.
Sheridan talk to Chris.
We appreciate the dialogue. I will assure you, we don't make any decision just because our vendor says so.
How do you know then for sure what they're telling you is true?
Well, we use multiple bids.
Yeah,
But I
we can get
can't
it.
have a dialogue at this time
Okay.
about it. This is really a staff matter, and I know Chris will talk about this, whether in his planned remarks or in another time. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, our next item is 5.0 new business. We have the June 2026 financial update.
Hi, so, I'm now, publishing this memo every month about, where the variances lie, whether they're permanent or temporary, and, the summary's here. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, would you just share a couple of the high points, Sheila?
Okay, so we are ahead of budget by about $1.9 million through the end of June. There are some permanent differences in miscellaneous revenues. We'll see where the big thing is. We received that $250,000. Well, we've been awarded the $250,000 grant for Centennial. There's some
I'm so sorry. We are recording. I don't want to miss anything
I am
that Sheila's saying. If you're welcome to step out and come back, but we do need to have silence during the meeting. Yeah, thank you so much.
Is this all?
That'd be great. Go ahead, Sheila.
And we're ahead of budget on some of the sponsorship revenue, which is pretty good. Expenses are still trailing budget. And I'm not under the impression that all of that is going to be permanent. There are some big permanent, about $300,000 in permanent savings in salary because of a lot of full-time positions taking a while to be filled. So,
Sure.
that's a big piece.
During the budgeted time, if that role is vacant, you're hiring, that will be.
And then the
Again.
capital is, I have the detail around the capital projects, where we are on waiting on invoices or where we had budget, and we haven't spent the money, or we spent money, budget is later on during the year, so. And it's kind of, yeah. Again, I don't know of anything that needs to be escalated that's going to be an issue, meaning that we're going to not meet our budget. And I will let you all know if I see anything immediately.
Does this in conversation encompass the one pagers? Can I ask a question about the one page?
Yeah, any questions from the group?
You can ask them about.
So I just, I needed a quick reminder from Chris today about, well, first, two things. One, these are great. I do think it's tough they're great, but they're slightly flawed in that it doesn't have, we're not associating the capital spend for each group. I understand that's nearly impossible to do, especially in flight. But I would love a quick overview of the hold account, the CRC, where is it? The general rec. With the,
BRCI.
yeah, and the 5 million capital. I first thought that was a typo, and then Chris mentioned it was a, this is my attempt to be carbon neutral. Yeah, so this is page 32 or 25 on my PDF. It's called Community Rec Operations. It's the hold account. It has no revenue. It has all expenses. And then
Well, it's a little bit of revenue.
yeah, sure.
Because we have some rental revenue.
Right.
But what happens is the funding of capital, which is a different fund, Fund 70, comes from recreation.
Right.
And at this point, we don't have a process in place by targeting each one of the facilities and each one of the programs. So we take it to the top of rec. So at the end of the day, all that is at CRC and is of of recreation, which would then include all the other facilities, that would all roll up into Fund 20, which is recreation. We do an allocation to cover the capital spending and make sure we don't go negative in that fund. And that's budgeted for $5 million for this year.
Just think next time we have something like that, can we have the paragraph in the packet? Because as the public is interested in these things, I had trouble from folks remembering and then associating it. And it's one of those things that stands out. It's a fair, am I alone here? I was like, what?
A pretty,
Okay.
It's just a significant number.
Yeah, and it might even a flat, like an asterisk.
Isn't it? It's not in transfers?
It is, but it's just, it's capital transfer, and I was
Right.
like, I couldn't find the other side of it, and I was confused. It's still COVID brain, I think.
Well, and you're not gonna see that because we don't do an income statement for capital.
Right,
So there's no balance sheets and income statements for every single one of the funds. The funds you're looking at here are only Fund 20. So you're not seeing like anything that's happening in Fund 10 related to parks and planning.
right.
These. are
Right. Okay,
traditional
I see.
procedures, But we could do.
I get the logic now, right? And I think that also plays into the whole, and there's no, platform associates some debt, but
Well,
others don't, and then,
okay, so.
no, yeah,
Those pieces are for the debt that was actually issued,
right,
debt certificates.
Right.
All the rest of the debt is property tax supported, and that's kind of done through a different fund in Fund 30. And I'm really sorry to get into the details on all of
no,
this.
this is good, because it's like, it says a lot, but it's also not easy to decipher. And for a public document, I thought I'd raise it, so any other questions on these?
How we do this, then.
I'm working on it.
This is not- I mean, if this doesn't work, this is what we've done.
This is fine, it just needs, I think the explanation's good.
Okay.
That's what this is for.
yeah, I think that's true. Perhaps like one summary table and then the details to follow.
I'm sorry, one what?
Yeah, so recognizing, so on each, we have a net surplus or deficit. So you might have a table that lists,
Well, let's go to pool.
right, let's use the pool. So the bottom line of pool is there is a net surplus of where our variance to date is 2.35%. So you might take just that line, that last line, and you would have pool operations, net surplus or deficit. And then you have each of those next level accounts. So pool would be the first line, and then the second line might be tennis, and you have the bottom line across golf, the bottom line across, just in one simple summary table.
I think
Okay,
when are you planning on doing this next?
September.
September.
And I'm not sure.
Let's talk.
She might not do it again.
So let's talk the week or two before when you start putting this together. Let's talk about a way to like simplify it. Yes. Right, because
Whatever gives you the most information is the way I would love to present it to you. Because believe me, a one-line summary, much easier than all of this detail. I think there's.
the detail's
Yeah,
good. It's more like highlighting
Yeah,
the
so I
greatest
like
things,
the
right?
detail, but I like it upfront with an executive summary. So you have one table all the way across that lists, so each page is represented by one line, and then you have the detail page following. So we might look at this and say, everything looks good, but gosh, I have a question about platform. Because the table was very clear, except platform seemed to jump out at me. And then we would turn to the platform page and say, oh, I see. And you would explain and we would understand.
Is that what you were intimating, Commissioner Duffy?
Well, in my mind, it would be similar to,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
just what you begin at the beginning of the whole thing and just say, okay, well, we have this significant variance here or this significant variance here in these different, yeah. So that's all. I think that's really,
And do we have an idea what significant would be?
Why don't we do a working session? Just a
Well,
quick
we'll get there.
Because I think we're pretty close.
Okay.
And I would
I
say,
think we're pretty close.
We're very
We've got
close.
the narrative, as you pointed out. I'm looking for one summary of the 12 pages plus the 12 pages to follow.
Right. and so for the pool, just relevant also to the audience. The number of the revenues and expenses, net of revenue expenses for the year, not inclusive repairs, and inclusive of a very reasonable, modest overhead transfer to like pay for staff, is $100,000. So that does not include a single repair for this year. Put another way, the pool made $100,000, is budgeted to make $100,000 if we did no repairs. So as we talk in the future about what to do
Mhm.
at that facility, it will be important to communicate clearly the financials. So that's kind of the lens I'm looking at this.
so I do have a question, like as an example, he says, oh, okay, the pool's gonna make $100,000 short of any capital improvements that have to be done there for maintenance. You talk of transfers. Does that show up? Would that show up in this page for the pool? Or is that shows up at a different point because capital improvements are these non-planned capital expenses are on a different table? If you want to talk through that.
Okay, so there's a couple of things here.
Yeah.
Okay, there is the capital budget.
Right.
Right. We have traditionally not tagged each facility and each program based on their capital expenditure.
Right.
So there is money that is generated from some programs and some facilities that cover the capital expenditures that are done in different places. It's like, it's treated as a big pool. That's why that $5 million capital transfer comes up from the top of Fund 20. It's all in recreation, okay? I am in the process of putting together the capital spend, actual capital spend going back maybe 2017, because that's like kind of what we've been looking at as the last 10 years. So you will have an idea of how much capital has been spent at each facility and with each program, okay? But we don't, I mean, I could tag it, to a particular financial statement. But again, I don't really know what you all want to see, right? So
So as we're talking about capital, so we have this project coming up at the end of the season at the pool.
Yeah.
That's not in our capital plan because we didn't know it was happening when we made this capital plan. How is that identified in any of these?
Some of it. Yeah, Commissioner Duffy, just this pool slide is identified.
So
it's identified in the capital spend.
I've got I've got Centennial floor machine, and I've got replaced pool vacuum drive well.
Isn't there?
I've got line 5 is Centennial Complex Aquatics Pool Slides.
Mhm.
And this is also, I have the same criticism.
The slides are something that we talked about, but that's not.
Oh, the leak. Yes.
Yes, so
Yeah,
the
yes,
leak
yes.
of the pool is not anywhere on here, so how is that?
So the
Moved
lead
around,
on the
yeah,
pool
yeah.
will be in the next version of this.
In the capital section?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So it's a new project is in the process of being opened up.
Yeah.
Trying to get our arms around what that's going to cost.
Right.
We might even have that now.
Yes, that's
It was approved, I believe.
No,
right?
that's not for.
Well,
repair.
the slides were approved.
Slides were approved, the repairs that need to be made, we won't know until we camera lines and see where they're at and see how, depending on where they are, you gotta take out back and that can be very expensive.
So that gets slid into the capital,
Mhm.
and then does the 5 million increase? Or
It
no?
could.
Yeah.
It could increase depending on how much savings we have on other capital projects, right? Because there's a running total of what has gone over budget or what will come in under budget.
Mhm.
So you see there's that, adjustment line, and then that will determine, what the transfer is.
Can I make one more request? We're talking about capital. In September or sometime in the future, can we also get a list of the special rec projects that have been completed?
That's a great idea.
Thank you. I think that's great.
Okay.
And I think,
Yes.
I know that we will be discussing a few projects, but as we go through the date, this looks like it is dated as of June 30th. Is there a newer version as of July 27th for capital?
No,
The month hasn't closed.
yeah, our month has closed.
Okay.
And July 30th probably won't be available till the at the end of August.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Anything else? And yeah.
I didn't know, and I
Commissioner
have a
Clark.
quick question, and it's not like, again, we're more into the more detail, but just Big Tree Lane. I'm just curious, it's under, but, 860,000. Or the actual, 860, but, and not 860,000, really minuscule amount, but I'm just kind of curious, because we knew, we would have known what the lease would have been, and yeah,
Well, we're putting that budget together, that information
Didn't get
so we're
that.
close.
yeah, you're very close,
Yeah.
yes,
Close,
you're really
just
close, so
not,
quite,
it wasn't until after.
That's right.
Fine.
Right, because we finished up that contract after the budget had we kind of thought where it was gonna be,
Mhm.
but it's just a little.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Right, contracts were signed, December, end of November, December.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all getting on display at that point. For 2 years.
So you're referring to the leases were signed at
Yes.
December, not contracts, because the contracts would be, make me think to the consultants that we just hired,
Precisely,
Yeah.
yes.
which is that 160 or whatever that's slotted, right? Well, it doesn't matter what the amount is, but that's what.
Yes.
Yeah. Matters what the amount is, it doesn't matter for the sake of this discussion.
Anything else from a financial perspective? I think, given that we have a need that was discovered around the leak and the exploration, would you have a moment to share a few remarks?
Oh, sure. So staff had, as we talked about, so we have the slide project, which was planned as preventative maintenance, but we also know that we have this aging pool. We had some issues with some of the walls last season. And so it's really challenging, I guess, yes, our fall is beautiful, has been, right? But, we'll have 80 degrees in October, but we also will have 38 degrees as a low the day before or 2 days before, right? As we get these swings. And the falls have been beautiful into winter almost, right? The start, but the springs have been really, and so we're having snow and freezing temperatures well into, pushing May this year. And so, so we have the risk of, if we want to bank on completing anything outside in Chicagoland, It's gotta happen in the fall because we cannot count on that spring to be what it used to be years and years and years ago, which wasn't great. It wasn't great, but it was better, right? And so then we're risking opening the pool and, people don't, there's so much that goes into opening the pool other than filling it with water, right? Our lifeguards every year, by the time we're able to get the pool up and ready, for the season, our lifeguards are jumping into water that was filled at whatever, 60 degrees, like 3 days prior. We have to fill it with water and then we got to get chemicals going. And at that point, heat's not even an issue. I mean, they're in frigid water training because that's the time frame we have. So back to that, on the winter side, we've got some concerns around some of the liner that needs to be probably resealed at a minimum at the top, and we can't do that with water in the pool. And also the biggest thing, I guess, is we have a leak that we have a pipe that's capped that has to be cambered and fixed, and we don't know where that break is. It could be anywhere on a pool like that. It's, that age, it's just hard to tell, right? And so that's the unknown, is figuring that out. And that's a major, that's cutting open, decking, concrete, digging down, excavating, finding it, and then making the repair and filling it all back up. So, I mean, it's just, there's, although the climate is changing, there is still difference between weather and climate, right? Climate's a long period of time, weather still comes in. So like I said, we still have these beautiful days, but we also have these massive overnight lows, and this work has to be done outside, and temperatures matter, right? A lot of this work can't be done with temperature even close to 40 degrees because things have to cure and things like that. So that's part of the kind of the thought process for it. But again, we have staff monitoring every day, letting us know what they see or find. And Josh and his team is trying to put together, plans to attack it in the fall. And we'll work with the contracted side that is set in place. And then the rest, we're doing, a lot of it's done in-house. So.
Can I add a little color to that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So the pool was built 2001. So the pool is 25 years old. 3 years ago, I believe it was, we put a liner in the 50-meter pool to extend its life because the 50-meter pool had cracks in it and water was leaking out. All the water service lines are 25 years old. We had one break last year as we tried to open the pool. So that speaks to the aging of the facility. 2 years ago, we put a new liner in the zero depth pool, where the slides are and stuff, to extend the life of that pool. So we're trying to, get extra value out of this pool, but it's getting old. And as they filled the pool this year, they found some problems with the liner and probably a leak in the activity pool. And that's the big project that we're concerned about. And that's the main reason that we've discussed closing the pool earlier this year.
Did we replace a heater too? That was only like a third of the way.
Yeah, that was at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it was like a third of the way through its useful life, but it broke. Right.
Yeah, it's pushing $100,000 for the heater, which was probably a third of its life, right, roughly. And that's just because it's, it's not meant to try to make the pool in,
It broke.
40-degree overheat.
Yeah.
So these are, keeping in mind, right? So another issue is staffing as we get beyond Labor Day. Kids are all back at school. The college kids are gone, and the older high school kids, which are the main staff that we use at that pool. That's the lifeguards. That's the people, most of the people checking in. So once those kids go back to school at Labor Day, that's why most pools close. So we've been able to extend. And it started happening sometime a little before COVID. We were extending.
Just in recent history.
Yeah, recent history is when we start extending into September. So, and we found a way to staff it as minimally as we could. If you guys recognize, there's a person checking in, there's a guard in the office who, keeps an eye on things while the lap swimming's going on. That's one expense. The other expense is as temperature drops, it sucks a lot of heat out of the pool. So to heat the pool, it costs a lot of money. So to the comments of, I paid $20, well, that's $80. Well, that's one of the staff people That's not anything about the electricity, the heating costs, the other staff person. And yeah, that the extra $20 or something could add up. But the expense is one of the considerations that we look at as we talk about extending. Would I like to be there swimming into October? Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love swimming.
And
outside.
we are
we
talking about extending it. All this is not doom and gloom, right? Like it's just the facts.
So these are just kind of all these things that we're trying to work through. And this year it's cutting short because of the capital or this.
I just had one question.
So I can't, we
We
can't. have a
can't
conversation.
answer, and
But I'm trying to provide context to you since we started talking about the pool to try and address some of your concerns. If you guys want to talk after the meeting, Patrick or I, who are swimmers and intimate with the pool are happy to answer.
and you have I responded to your son's email this morning, like, I'm at the pool, we're available. I know we're off topic, so, sorry.
Thank you. No,
Sorry.
so Chris, I think it would just be helpful to look at because I don't know the history and, over the last decade, when has it closed? Can we get a table of both closing dates and utilization throughout, like a month by month utilization? Because I think as we think about the future and kind of planning this out, maybe if we just had some data pulled together on it, it would help us be a little bit more informed for this conversation. And I think communicating that information to our swimming community, which is very passionate, would help everybody build understanding and hopefully, gain some support for the decision that we're going to have to make. Yeah.
Good, absolutely.
I think this was helpful. I hope the community thinks it's helpful too. And obviously, we want to ensure our facilities can be enjoyed for a long time, not only into the season, but also for many years. And we're making the most of a pool that is end of life. So we're very hopeful about the repairs that are planned and also hopeful we can strike a balance in the work that's done. All right. Thank you for that. We're up to 5.2. We're on to recreation intern presentations. First of all, welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Can I say last year's recreation intern was one of my favorite meetings?
Oh, boy.
And so it's expectation levels here. Okay.
He's sitting down though.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get this reset up a little bit, but there's one of our interns, and I'll do some introductions in a second, but Violet is not here. She had to go to a family funeral, unfortunately. And then these guys have also done another little project that they worked on over the summer that will be displayed on the screen. So
Great.
you guys may want to
Yep.
reorient yourselves.
Thanks.
Okay, so as you know, we kind of restarted our internship program last summer, and we had TJ, and he was great, and he came and gave a presentation, and we loved the experience so much for him and for us that we definitely wanted to make that part of the experience of our interns again this summer. So we were fortunate this year to have 3 interns, and they'll introduce, Kylie and Jacob will introduce themselves because they do better than I about who they are and what they're doing. We're gonna go with Violet first. She is a student at Marquette University. She will be a junior. She is studying human resources, and she gives a little bit of background on herself, so I won't spoil it. But she is in the midst of her college career and chose to come back to the Park District for her experience. So I asked them just to put together a short little presentation to kind of told us who they are and what they've been up to for the summer. So let's see if we can get this to work. Sorry.
Let's see where I will be junior. And I'm majoring in human resources. This internship has been especially meaningful because my journey with the Park District didn't start here. For the past 2 summers, I've worked as a camp counselor in early childhood center. Working with children and building relationships with families showed me how much I enjoyed being part of this district, and inspired me to return this summer in a completely new role. When I accepted this internship, I wanted to challenge myself by learning what happens behind the scenes to make our program successful. My goals were to develop leadership skills and communication skills, learn from experienced professionals, and better understand how different departments work together to make our community even better. Throughout the summer, I helped prepare for seasonal start training, attended director and supervisor meetings, visited camps across the district, and substitute at different camps when I was needed. I also helped with planning 4th of July festivities, assisted with the Yankee Doodle Dash, and sat in on meetings where staff worked together to solve problems and improve our programs. One experience that stood out to me, especially, was interviewing camp counselors about their own experiences every single day. Having recently been a camp counselor myself, I could relate to many of their perspectives. It reminded me how important it is to listen to our employees who are working for us every single day, value their feedback, and create the supportive work environment where they feel listened to. That experience especially reinforced my interest in human resources. Looking back, my biggest accomplishment wasn't just one project itself. It was how much I grew throughout this internship. I became more confident speaking with supervisors and directors, sharing my ideas with Dave, and stepping outside my comfort zone when it came to all of this. I learned that leadership isn't just about managing people, it's about listening to what they have to say to us, building those relationships with counselors, and supporting those who may need someone around you. As I continue my education and begin my career in human resources, I'll carry these lessons with me throughout my entire life. This internship strengthens my communication, teamwork, and leadership skills will show me the impact that dedicated employees have on our community as a whole. Experiencing the Park District, both a camp counselor and now a recreation summer intern, has given me a unique perspective that I have extreme value to. I want to sincerely thank everyone at Wilmette Park District for believing in me, supporting me, and giving me an opportunity to grow within this company. I'm grateful for everything that I've learned this summer, and I know these experiences will stay with me throughout my career. Thank you.
All right, cool. So, Violet Harville. Yeah, she's great. So we're gonna move on to, I'm gonna ask Jacob Winkowski to step up and do his little presentation. Jacob is not only a summer intern for us this summer, he's on a half internship, but he is also our full-time beach volleyball camp director. So he's been with the Park District for a couple of years also, and he had double duty this summer.
You want the lights on?
No, I'm perfectly fine.
Okay.
Okay, hi, my name is Jacob Winkowski. I'm a rising senior at the University of Michigan. I'm studying applied exercise science, and I'm also minoring in education for empowerment on the coaching and leadership pathway. And in the next year or two, I do plan on getting a master's in management. So I kind of stumbled upon the internship just because I figured that it was a really good mesh of everything that I have experienced and want to experience further on down the line. Obviously, working in the Park District for the past 4 years gave me a little bit of insight in what I could experience here. And knowing everything that I wanted to experience, it was a great opportunity and it spoke to me. So here I am today. And in taking on this internship, my goal was to not only grow personally, but to also grow professionally in everything that I do. And I was able to accomplish this goal by being able to tailor my experience to what I really wanted to do myself. So that was more so learning about general recreation, but also tailoring my experience to gymnastics, just because I used to be a gymnast growing up, even though I'm 6 foot tall now. So I outgrew that, but I want to give back to that community any way I can. And I really just love the sport endlessly. And after everything that's done with college, I want to have my own sports facility that also has a clinical aspect, because I want to do PT as well. So kind of integrating everything together. And gymnastics is going to be a really big key concept and stone in that. So I figured being able to experience the Wilmette Park District Gymnastics program, since it's so good and great and everything in that it has to offer, it was like obvious choice just to experience that. And so I wanted to immerse myself into that world once again, just to learn everything that I could. And so I was able to kind of tailor my experience and learn what it means to actually coach. On the girls' side, being a male gymnast, I experienced all of that, but I didn't know how to coach girls prior to this year. I was also learning how different approaches come into context and how to pace your athletes properly, and also wanted to understand the more logistic side of things and how to manage to operate a facility, not only just how to interact with the athletes, but how to have everything come into play as one. And so that kind of led me into learning about the decision-making process and like what actually goes into the facility, what goes into what coaches get hired, how does a coach decide which athlete goes where and whatnot. I also learned how to plan training specifically and how to prep for important events internally, like our ITC events where we have judges come in. And I also learned about how to prepare for competitions. Obviously, we're not in competition season right now, but that was something that I learned. I also learned how to make sure to manage and ensure safety throughout everything that we did throughout our time. Obviously, I learned how to properly coach, but I was also really grateful that Coach Marianne let me spot athletes at this high level just because it's not something you get to do from the get-go. So some of the top athletes we were here, I was already spotting them like week 3, so it was really great to experience that. And then I learned about USAG compliance and safe sport, which wasn't something that was around when I was a gymnast, and it's obviously a really big factor now, given all the situations that came out through the sport. So having that understanding solidified my understanding and what I need to really focus on, not only in the sport, but making sure that the experience is tailored to a great experience, but a safe experience for the athletes as well. And then in terms of the general recreation side, obviously I didn't have too much time to immerse myself into other camps, given that I was the beach volleyball director as well. But I did get to attend a couple of the camps like Pirate Tennis and After Camp Rec, and subbed in a couple times here and there for other camps as well. Was also tasked with various tasks and projects throughout my time, and was able to sit on different meetings and just learn about what it means to manage and operate all the amazing opportunities the Park District is able to offer. And overall, the experience just allowed me to expand my skill set and knowledge that's going to drive me to that career goal in the end, as I was allowed to apply what I learned in the classroom in a new lens. And I was able to build myself as a person and other skills, which helped me become a better version of myself right now. And thank you.
Dave, can we ask questions?
Of course.
So, as beach volleyball director, did you work with the adults groups?
I did.
And I know we've had some changes there the last couple of years. How is that? What was your general sense of those changes and the success of the program, or any suggestions otherwise?
I mean, I only worked with it for 1 year, so I don't know how anything's changed really.
Yeah.
But I mean,
That's a good thing because they'll tell you. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they were upfront about a lot of things, but
Yeah.
I think it's a great addition to what we're able to offer. It seems fun.
A lot of people do it.
A lot of people do it. I think it's grown a lot. So
And then I have a comment. The comment is this: you talked about safe sport, right? So as Commissioner Duffy and I know, like maybe your girls were a little bit beyond safe sports, but a real big thing in the swimming community now. And I would say if you can get yourself certified in any capacity in safe sport, that's the way things are going. Yeah, so
yes.
good to hear. All right, good job. Sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you.
A fellow former gymnast who rose too tall, so I appreciate your experience there, and I'm really glad you got to coach players as well. So, thank you.
Julia, you're do it all.
Well-
All gymnastics.
You when you're 5, 9, and 12, you just don't. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I would like to next introduce Kylie Fitzgerald, who, I don't know how much she's going to tell you about herself, but she is a former Wilmette Park District person. As a young person, she used to live in Wilmette, and she is now at the end of her career. This is her last academic requirement before she steps into the world of parks and recreation. So I will turn it over to Kylie.
So I'm Kylie Fitzgerald. I grew up in Wilmette. Obviously, Dave mentioned going to summer camp every single summer. I went from Wiggle Worms to Junior Day to Greg Gilson up until I was a CIT. And then during high school, I wished more than anything that I could have been a camp counselor. But that's aside the point. I went to ISU, Illinois State University, starting in 2016. I was supposed to graduate in 2020, but something happened that year where recreation wasn't happening. So I had actually been hired to be the intern that summer of 2020. And then obviously they could not provide me with a good experience that would aid in my education. So I dropped out of school and pursued a slightly different path. I was a flight attendant for about 5 years with a few different airlines. I kind of jumped around a little bit. It was slow getting started after the world shut down. But last year I decided to come back and finish my degree. So of course, the first place I applied to for my final piece of my degree was Wilmette. And I was so happy when I received the offer. And everything this summer has just been such a wonderful experience. And I feel like I have been learning so much, from special events, which was my main interest, to more of the camp side. I've been subbing in as a camp counselor for Pirate Tennis, and this past week and a half, Wilderness Wonders, and getting to experience what it's like to go on field trips and sort of how safety precautions are made to protect the kids and the counselors. I've been able to sit on different meetings to learn more about like the more professional side of things, not just camp. And then I've been working on a personal project as well all summer long. Prior to this job, for the past year, I was a site coordinator for a before and after school care program with a different park district. And I wanted to do something that was a little bit personal to me. So I am in the process of creating and publishing a website, more like a blog, that has different craft ideas for supervisors and directors to be able to use and access, as well as also physically making every single craft so that if they need to, they can pull from a binder of crafts so they have something that they can bring to their camp and have something prepared for the day without being like going through Pinterest or having to make it themselves at home. So that's been my personal project all summer long, as well as everything that I've been doing, just like being invited to different meetings and learning so much from everybody that I've been able to meet and talk with throughout the summer.
Very good.
Thank you.
Great story. Share with us, if you're willing, the project when you're done, share it with Dave. I mean, that sounds really great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm intending it for the Wilmette Park District to use.
We'll take it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back, the park district does that before. Yeah, I want to thank you for sharing your story, because it's so great that you returned to something you enjoyed and loved, and also the perseverance it takes to do that. And I'm grateful you were probably protecting safety in the skies as well as a regular traveler, but it's great that you're able to follow the work that you love.
Yeah, and I'm super happy to be here. So thank you.
Yeah, well done.
Great job. Happy to have, that was awesome. Thank you.
So as you can imagine, as an internship, or as interns, if you have all done an internship, you get asked a range of things to do. And these guys have stepped up every time they've been asked to do the smallest thing up to being involved in big things. And so they've been super willing. They've assimilated very well into our staff. I would speak for our whole staff in saying that we loved our experience with them, and they have been a great addition to our overall program. And so when they first started, they showed up on the first day, and I made them sit in a room with me, and I threw all this junk in the room, and I made them do all these weird things, and they got to kind of learn about each other, and we got a debrief and all this stuff. And it was kind of a cool learning experience for them to come together. But I also made them do a project. Aside from the personal projects that they did for themselves, I made up a list of 25 questions, for lack of a better term, about the whole park district and the community. And I gave them some clues that came out of my brain, so which meant they had to tap into my brain a little bit to eventually figure out what the heck I was getting at. The goal of this was them to get around the village and the park district and explore things and learn where our parks were and what our things were and kind of our little nuances that not everybody knew, and it wasn't really obvious. And they worked pretty long and hard on it. And so I asked them, as a proof of them getting the answers, to go to these places, take a picture either together or individually, and then they presented it in this little slideshow. So I'll play it for you now.
Very cool.
Good job, guys.
What was the hardest one?
It should have gone block, it should sound Lockerbie Park.
Yeah, I would have to try the pocket parks would take me a second.
What was the hardest one?
Ask around a little bit, and think that there's three separate groups we had to go to. We thought it was all just one location. And then, oh, I don't know what this could possibly be. We were like mapping it out, like is it in the middle of it all? But yeah, we asked Dave, we clarified for us.
Yeah, because I thought it was the District 39 walking path, like connecting it somehow to that building. And that was the final answer. Like, no,
It was fun to try to make them overthink some things.
Nice job. Nice job.
Get on the phone.
Tough end to follow, Josh, but good luck. All right, now, let's dive into the Langdon and Gilson projects.
Okay, I gotta move again. I got it. You have.
You know, I can, well, and maybe this way the group can see, but
I can run the slideshow if you want.
Sure.
All right. So in June of 2019, the Langdon beach was closed to shorefront erosion and safety concerns. The beach was closed down to the public, unfortunately, but in April of 2021, the Smith Group started developing a plan for the protection and restoration of the bluff, was specifically looking at beach access for the public. Construction started in September of 2024. And the beach officially opened back up to the public in June of 2025, with completion of the project in September of 2025. Happy to say that MWRD did their final inspection. That project is 100% complete and close out. As you can see, there's a picture of the before and after, and it was tough to get some really good, there's so many good after pictures. So it's hard to choose some of those, but I chose this one specifically because of the little hut that was there. I had our analyst Doug pull some numbers for me today. So in 2026, from opening till close season, 2,683 citizens came and visited the beach, meaning just checking in by scanning in or bought one-day passes. That's not including everybody that visited, but that was for the ones that we could track. In 2026, from open to date, as of today, That number is 3,928. So we'll get into the costs. I just want to make a little update on this. Of the paid to date that shows the 1.856 million. The line below, that's John Keno, who is the contractor. We've actually drawn that down, and there's only a retainage of this project of $12,006 left. We're holding on to that for the next couple of years because there is warranty period for the plantings on Langdon shoreline up on the bluff. And once that's complete, everything's established, and that will be drawn down too. So based on the final budgetary numbers, we budgeted a little over $2 million, and we came in at $8,812 under budget. Are there any questions before I move on?
Yeah.
This.
Some information got shared, more specific expenses earlier today.
Yep.
And it highlights some change orders of $102,000. What were the change orders that cost so much?
There was additional aggregates that had to be trucked in for the shore stabilization. That was the bulk of the change orders.
So not just the big rocks, but other rocks that were not anticipated. I know maybe you're not as deep in the engineering of it, but somehow that it kind of surprises me that someone didn't anticipate.
I've worked with a lot of different engineering firms, and a project of this scale, I mean, they specify a cut and a depth, and and there's typically always some unknowns in you're getting the right compaction, getting the right amount of stone in to meet the requirements of whatever their spec is, right? Or you end up having to cut more to get to, a stronger base that you're going to build on top of. And when you cut more, you don't put dirt back in. You usually will use an aggregate, and aggregates are expensive in higher quantities. So I'm assuming, obviously I was not here, but that is typically what comes up on larger construction projects of this scale. Is that there's always that's always a tough number, right? We want to budget. The engineers are specifying those quantities, and they try to, they're using their experience in, hundreds or thousands of projects in their career. And there's just, it's like remodeling your kitchen. You open the wall and you say, oh, boy.
So curiosity question, and I know you weren't here for this, Josh, you weren't here for this either, but when the estimates came in for different firms that bid the project, and part of their bid was, okay, the rocks, the aggregate, wood. The reason this bid was selected was because they didn't bid the same amount of stone or aggregate as the others. I'm not as detailed. Maybe that was something that we even saw or needed to look at, but could this, and then I know it's $100,000. So, out of well, that wasn't all $1.6 million deal, but it's I don't know. I'm just curious. I mean, is this something that maybe not that we're going to do another project like this, hopefully, but as we look at other projects to make sure that as people are bidding projects, they're bidding apples to apples.
It's the rest of the change.
Yeah, I came from work, so I'm going to open up my email and read this. This is new details.
Yeah, it's at 417.
But I would say this is 5% of the overall budget, so I'm not alarmed.
Yeah. What I would say is that typically when you're going to bid something, there are specified quantities, because that's the key. It should be apples to apples. And that's not a way to shoehorn your way into a project and then you change order for it.
Yeah.
Those quantities on something like this, that's tracked, right? So that's not like someone missed it or someone's got an extra cash grab.
Yeah.
It's tracked exactly to the loads, the amount of tonnage that they're pulling in. And so typically a bid will say an X number of, expect this much haul off and, this many cubic yards of stone. And then, the best way to bid it so that you don't get gouged when you're stuck with that contractor is to have itemized bids. This is the best way to do it. It's a little more work, but that could be that if there is a change order, that number for stone or that number for dirt or that number for concrete, whatever that is a publicly bid number. So they had to be, competitive in that. They can't say, no, that's more.
Which, yeah, I'm just curious, because I mean, this was started 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't remember what bids were, and I don't know if we even saw that much detail as we were looking at them as the board. And so I just kind of thought crosses my mind, is this a way that an angle different contractors or whoever may use, and just thinking out loud is about
Do you want to
making
speak
sure
to
it's
it,
all
Andrew?
apples to apples.
Can I ask a quick question? So we did, I'm with Commissioner Goble, I'm just looking at this and I would prefer to get it sooner next time. And so this might be a dumb question, but didn't we have a change order? We made the path, do you remember, right outside the porta potties, it was like a
Right.
choice to make it a path. Is that included in the change order, or is that?
So that was-
Original
That was
contract?
So that was a,
Is it an add-on?
so it was, that you're talking about the pavers that were put.
Pavers, right? So that was not bid.
It was, no, we were asked to approve I think a contract for that. I think there were a couple of
Speak to
different
it
bids.
before
yeah.
I'm curious. I mean, I don't remember.
Just prefer we don't speculate out
Yeah.
loud. Could we hear from you what the
Is
100
that a change order or no?
is?
It was an alternative.
It was an alternative? Okay, I just want to know if that was that.
So I-
But anyway, how about this, follow up with me in an email?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I
And,
haven't the email, so I don't.
yeah, and I think this isn't ideal. Because we want to read before we come to the meeting and now we're all trying to guess
Yeah,
what.
this was just a request. I wasn't,
Yeah,
we weren't sure what the board was, how detailed was looking for. So we got some follow-up today from a commissioner and put together some information to have.
It's just a bad habit to get these
Agreed.
2 hours before. And
Yeah,
I think going.
I don't
forward,
have the email requesting more detail either.
I
no.
think just separate, going forward,
You can guess.
I'm gonna table something if we do this again, okay? We want to move on to Gilson.
So can I say, do we want to hold off on Gilson? Because there's a whole nother page about Gilson and the details of it.
Up to you guys.
I don't see change orders itemized. Should we
No.
expect change orders were part of Gilson or?
No, they're not on Gilson, but the detail about, if you look at the.
Yeah, why are
Well,
we,
So
why
I
are we
talked
discussing this?
through it,
Yeah.
right? So Gewalt, I know, Hager, I think I remember, Smith was ultimately the final, we worked with Smith at the end. Lakota was,
No, you're talking about Gilson.
I'm talking about Gilson, so I'm just, we're talking through.
So that's a question I have. Is Lakota part of the original plan
Yes,
that
they were.
was,
And
that was
we
nixed
also
and all
shifted it,
that?
right?
Yeah.
That's
Monthly, I
correct.
remember was part of the path. So I understand all those. Gewalt again. The rest of the stuff's, nominal, right?
So my understanding, the request didn't come from me, that the request came from Commissioner Murdoch, and he wanted more detail about the numbers, how they added up to what's in our packet. And I don't know,
That's fine. I just
Yeah.
thought as we can continue, I'm looking at this at 6:15 and now I'm looking, I didn't scroll down the whole way.
Mhm.
It's just not,
We were under budget on both projects, significantly, is substantially under budget for Gilson. So if the concern is maybe, flagging a potential future contract.
so not at all. So looking at the numbers and understanding where the dollars went, that's all that this email's about.
Right.
And that's, he wanted detail,
Okay.
is my understanding from reading this email.
Okay.
But
I
they
didn't
all-
not look at the
Yeah.
email,
We
so.
got the request. What's the request that arrived at the email?
There was not, it was not shared.
Is there a reason it wasn't shared? Or,
Well, it wasn't very clear. It was mostly a phone call and
okay,
asking for more financial detail, which, we were just able to give numbers quickly with what time we had to back up what was on here. I still don't have the exact, I guess
yeah,
what
So-
was being looked for.
I mean,
This
we're
is
within
within
priority.
budget.
Yeah, this
For
is,
us
this is
to
an
have
excellent
these
outcome.
Great
Yeah.
projects and
Yeah.
to be under budget on both projects. So
I think there was some confusion over what was the budget number because at least in doing some research, right? On the history of this, it changed every year in the capital plan. You see.
It's a
the
miracle this
numbers
has been
kept-
accomplished in this timeframe,
That the numbers kept changing, right?
given the direction and the evolving board that we've had this. So I'm really proud of the work. I'm glad you brought us back to this focus because it's really well done.
yeah,
And
we have great projects.
And
they're both terrific.
And I'm just gonna throw in like this, because I am down in Gilson a lot. I mean, people are using the sidewalk. People are using the bike path. People are, not biking, but they're running on it. It's such a wonderful project and it adds so much to the park. So
It's well said.
um,
So maybe just follow up with Commissioner Murdoch if there's some additional conversation or something that we should be considering for future projects. But, I would just say congratulations to the staff for being under budget. And I think both projects are great. I'm excited, also excited and heavily using both projects and as are many people in the community. So it's good that we're.
love to walk up, walk up the lakefront and then go up the path up, and it's just a smooth path. It's just lovely. So, I think both projects are really, really add amenities to our town.
Josh, the additional payments, Abby, is that related to seeing those things?
This related to all the work that we held back from last year that we did not accept, that they completed this fall, this spring and summer. So we do owe Abby that money. Correct. And that's within the budgeted amount. One thing I do want to note, with these projects, both of these specifically, not only are we dealing with MWRD, we have the village involved, IDNR, Army Corps of Engineers. There's a lot of different entities and governing bodies that go into both of these projects that have to be vetted, worked through, permitted, et cetera.
Absolutely.
And, there's a lot of staff time, effort, and work on getting those in the completion portion of that. We did have our walkthrough in July with MWRD. There's just some small administrative items that still need to take place. Sorry for Gills. And we're confident that there shouldn't be any additional costs with that.
I think it's a really good example of a public partnership in intergovernmental work. And as stated, like the utilization is terrific.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Item 5.4, district service provider policy discussion. Do you want to start or do you want me to?
I think we could all. So we've had some discussion, actually we had a, kind of stemmed some of the process in our, previous meetings. When it came to, signing a contract with a third party, or a vendor. And so we looked at what we had and what we may or may not have been doing. And, Lindsay actually took it over and started reaching out to our peers and seeing what they have and taking pieces from other agencies around us and also doing some research to put together something that we think will work for us. Alongside that he was working with our recreation staff. They have a lot of agreements with vendors and I'll let Lindsay kind of go through what this feeds into, not only from the policy, but the staff side documentation that we have. But I think it's a really good catch-all starting place that has a lot of the language that staff is empowered to be able to utilize when seeking vendors for whether it's a recreation program partner or it's a vendor in our parks. It'll help kind of guide us and it gives us kind of the teeth that we need to not only hold them accountable, but have an accountable process for bringing them in.
Yeah, thank you. So interestingly enough, I feel like the board had a couple of questions and my team, my HR and risk team had already been working with Dave and his team and some of Josh's team as well to talk about independent contractor agreements as well as certificates of insurance, because a lot of times at the district, they work hand in hand. So any program that you see within our program guide that is not run by the park district, so Hot Shots, a chess program,
Coach Abe.
Coach Abe, any of those have to have both an independent contractor agreement as well as a certificate of insurance listing the park district as additional insured and blah, 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 all these different requirements. So the process that we had as a district for collecting and, filing those and making sure that we were following up with those contractors for both of those pieces, because they're only 1-year agreements and everybody's certificates expire at different times of the year because it's just on their own insurance schedules. It was messy. So they have been kind of working on this since January, and there's a lot of different pieces involved. So the question that came from the board as to, how does this all work was really just great timing. So we kind of took the question and lumped everything into one, and instead of calling them an independent contractor or a third-party service provider, we called them all service providers. So that's just what we're changing all of our language to in all of those documents, which is why the definition is provided in here the way that it is. So some of this may seem procedural, but I felt like, like participant safety or something like that. But why not give it all to you and let you see the breadth of all of it? A lot of this language is, this was reviewed by a lot of people internally, as well as Andrew. He's already looked at this. He made 2 suggestions for me, which I was like, yes. Which was one of it was, talking about the service provider definition, which was great. And a lot of it is within the independent contractor agreement itself. So the language is in both places, but this is the way that the board can say, yes, this is what we want our standards to be for the district. It's also what PDERMA standards are. It's what, that's like the go-to agreement that everybody has initially. But PDERMA's agreement is about liability and everything. PDERMA's agreement doesn't say, Coach Abe, you can't use our participant information to market your other programs, and you can't keep this and use it for whatever else you want. But this is now going to say, you can only use our participant information for our programs and or keep it for your rosters and to check off that you have the right people or to talk about inclement weather. So it very much defines what they can and can't do. PDERMA doesn't have that. So we added it.
Did because I asked Chris about the data.
Mhm.
Is that in here and I missed it, or did I just?
It's in that would be something that's within the agreement in more detail.
Okay, that's
It's
the
how
contract
they-
itself. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then the only part that I had to flag as long as we're kind of moving on is like, in this, it gives the executive director the ability to make an exception. I don't think we really need to codify that you'll let the board know, but it's my expectation that if you made an exception to this, you'd let us know.
Yeah, but I think it's good to have that, right?
Potentially, I don't know.
So to provide, just to avoid any type of possible confusion, just to learn about it. Yes.
Could I have a motion to admit Commissioner Murdoch, please?
So moved.
Commissioner Murdoch is in the meeting. Thank you.
Murdoch here in the meeting. So I had sent you an email, and my question was, we were already doing this, right?
Yeah.
It was because, like you explained, it's in our agreements going out. This is just basically creating a policy or a procedure.
Yeah.
Policy.
It's a policy. And the procedure is what we've been doing. It's just, we've been doing the procedure.
Right.
We didn't have anything necessarily written down.
Right.
We haven't looked at the agreement in a little while. We wanted to make sure we added anything that might be new. We have a lot of new rec staff, a new rec team who've come from different agencies that might have new ideas of things that work well for them. So it was just a great time to incorporate anything else that we might think could or should apply.
Lindsay, can I ask, so thank you for putting this together and the level of detail, I think is helpful. When I was originally reading it, I wondered if this was at all connected to the conversation we had about the sauna at Gilson, and if something like that falls within this as well. Because part of, from my memory, part of that conversation also kind of prompted us to ask staff to think about, like, what would our criteria be for allowing, certain vendors like a sauna or like a coffee truck or like a whatever might come to us, which this document doesn't necessarily clarify that level of criteria for selection. Is that intentionally left outside of a policy?
So within this, it talks about how there's going to be a procedure that, like, this allows us to. So part of the things that the staff are working on, I actually talked about this at our staff meeting this morning, and probably confused a lot of people because they're like almost completed, but we're going to have like an independent contractor service provider guide on our website, inviting people to say, hey, this is what we do and what we can offer you as a district. This is how we can market your program. This is what our splits usually are. This is where this is how often we put out our program guides. So this is what we would expect from you. And then there's also going to be like an intake form that says, if you're interested, you can fill this out. And it's going to go to one particular person who's going to look through it, and anybody could apply for it. And it'll give like a timeline that says, we may not be able to implement anything for up to 6 months because you could be applying for something in the summer that would need to start in the summer, and we need time to look into it. It also says we can research other people that might do the same thing that you do, because we want to make sure that we're getting the best deal on it. And we want to make sure that there's not somebody else that could maybe do it better than what you're offering to do, or for less, or whatever it might be. So there are those things that we have in mind. It's just on like the intake form where they would read it. But essentially this is saying that there are certain provisions that you're allowing us to create the procedures to work through those. So yes, it exists.
Okay, so that would fall.
It will exist. We're in the final
You're working out
tweaking phases. Yeah.
I like that it sets out expectations around policies and laws to follow, and the high level ways we ask our partners to conduct business.
Well, I thought when the purpose, it includes that, it's that, to provide recreation programs, et cetera, that enhance their mission of enriching quality of the community. So I feel like that would be, might keep out certain providers that we just don't feel that they enrich the community. So, and I just also say, so I thought it was a very thorough production. I just wanted to add in marketing and communications. I don't think it really references or allows the district to market that, because it says that the district reserves the right to approval of marketing materials referencing district programs, et cetera. Service provider shall not represent its employees. Okay, that's all fine. But it doesn't provide that the district can market that program. So I don't know, maybe putting in that, some also that the
we are allowed to market.
may also market your program, because it doesn't provide for it in this procedure, which I think we would want to market. We've done the sauna, we do Coaches, we might want to, the district itself would want to market it.
Would that be in the contract?
Yeah, we talk about, there's a lot of contractors that are like, we're gonna send this out, and we're like, oh, that looks horrible, you're using the wrong logo, let us help you polish that up. We talk about how we market the programs and how in the agreements that we put it in the program guide, this many times a year, but that's easy enough to add because most of the time we do, except there's going to be times like for like Fat Shallot. There was a point in time where we had a contract with them that talked about us marketing their dinners on the beach, and that we received a percentage of, what they made. And then that provision changed. I mean, these are for 1 year agreements, and all those other agreements that are for more than a year come to you to review. So it's something that's easy to add because we likely will. I don't know why we wouldn't, because it's something that we're agreeing to, but easy enough.
The last question that I had, Cecilia, were you done? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sorry. The last question I had was under participant safety. And there's a statement that says service providers shall cooperate with the district in providing reasonable accommodations and inclusive recreational opportunities. And that's pretty vague in terms of kind of how it might be defined or interpreted. But I am wondering if if a service provider is providing services to any special needs population that we might be serving through the park district, is there special certifications or additional requirements that we would expect?
We don't currently
Okay.
for any of our programs right now. So, but one of the questions on the intake form is, how would you adjust your program, or how would you what's the word?
Accommodate.
Yeah, how would you adjust your program to accommodate somebody with a disability? So we literally say, like, what would you do to change around your program to accommodate somebody? And that's one of the programs, or one of the questions that they have to answer on the intake form.
Okay.
So if they don't know, then that's something that we're happy to work with them on. But if they're like, well, my program has to take place in this, I'm going to bring this thing and it only has stairs, then we may say,
No.
unfortunately, that doesn't work for our district because we are an inclusive district. And
Okay.
if you can't find a way to add a ramp or add something that is wheelchair accessible, we are not able to, have you as a vendor of ours. And that would be our choice. So.
Thank you.
Questions? Thank you.
Great. So I'll add that, and then it'll probably just be on the agenda for the next board meeting, unless I hear otherwise outside of this.
Good.
Thank you.
At that point, could I have a motion for 6.0?
I would move to adjourn closed session for the discussion of purchase or lease of real property for the use of the park district, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, as well as the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the public body in accordance with sections 2C5 and 2C6 of the Open Meeting Act, and for the discussion of appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the district or against legal counsel to determine its validity in accordance with section 2C1 of the Open Meetings Act.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Adjourn.